Well, the biggest geopolitical story of 2025 has just gone down as China's government has introduced a new set of policies that are going to have widespread effects on the entire global economy. Starting now, any company anywhere in the world that uses Chinese rare earths to develop 14 nanometer or smaller semiconductors will now need a case-by-case approval from Beijing to get access to these materials. I can't tell you how massive of a shift this is, because this change in policy is going to affect every facet of the global economy. If you're the Dutch company, ASML, building the world's most advanced lithography machines in Europe, you now need Beijing's approval. If you are TSMC, building microchips in Taiwan, you now need Beijing's approval. Even if you are Intel or Nvidia and operate in the United States, well, you get the picture. They will now be operating under Beijing's permission. Now, as you can imagine, the response from the US government was anything but positive. Here is a post from the US government's Select Committee on China, who states, "This move is an economic declaration of war. The Chinese Communist Party is weaponizing critical minerals to dominate global supply chains and undermine American industries." But is this actually true? Cambridge professor Jostein Hauge says the quiet part out loud in his post on X. Washington has long suffered from severe cognitive dissonance, struggling to accept that other countries take a page from its playbook. You see, this is not an economic declaration of war from China. This is simply China treating the United States in the exact same way the United States treats China. As Ryan Haas, senior fellow at the Center for Asia Policy Studies Institute, states, this is the new reality of US-China relations. China has spent the past several years building tools to reciprocate US actions and remind the US of its leverage. This action is consistent with PRC behavior all year. Hold firm, hit the US where it hurts, and leave the door open to negotiate. Think back to 2022, when Washington first introduced sweeping semiconductor export controls designed to cripple China's access to advanced chips. The US government blocked companies like ASML, Nvidia, and TSMC from selling their most advanced products to Chinese firms. At the time, American officials claimed these restrictions were about national security, but in reality, they were a calculated effort to slow down China's technological rise. Beijing learned a critical lesson from that moment. The Chinese government could never leave themselves and their growing economy in a vulnerable position of being reliant on the United States. As former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger once famously stated, the United States has no permanent friends or enemies, only interests. And given the adversarial nature of the US and China relationship, it only makes sense that China would double down and develop their own domestic supply chain. At one point, Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, proudly stated, "We have a 3-year lead on China in AI." And in my mind, that is an eternity. But over the past 3 years, the Chinese semiconductor industry has been developing at an exponential pace, quickly erasing the United States' superior lead. One thing we must never do is bet against China, a nation filled with the world's largest amount of STEM graduates. If there is one thing the Chinese can do, it's figure out solutions to complex problems. Fast forward to today, and the eternal lead the former Google CEO once bragged about is completely gone. Just listen to Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, the world's most valuable company, reveal the truth about America's lead over China.
We're up against a formidable, innovative, hungry, fast-moving, under-regulated. Okay, people don't realize this. They are very lightly regulated. Some of the things I heard, they could never build AI chips. That just sounded insane. Two, that China can't manufacture. China can't manufacture? If there's one thing they could do is manufacture. Three, they're years behind us. Is it 2 years, 3 years? Come on, they're nanoseconds behind us.
Nanoseconds.
Yeah, they're nanoseconds behind us. And so we've got to go compete.
China is quickly closing the gap. This is now the reality of the situation. But what is happening right now is something we've never seen before in the US-China relationship. Beijing is beginning to fight back and hit the United States in the most vulnerable sectors of the US economy.